When you think of global empires built on gold, you probably imagine Rome, Persia, maybe even Spain. But long before European ships sailed to West Africa, there was an empire so rich, its king broke the economy of an entire continent. So powerful, its cities rivaled the cultural capitals of the Islamic world, and so forgotten that most history books barely give it a footnote. This is the untold story of the Mali Empire, Africa's golden empire, built by warriors, poets, merchants, and a lion king who changed the world. You're watching Silent Dynasties. History speaks, we listen. Long before Mali rose, West Africa was already rich, not in palaces or pyramids, but in gold. In the savanna and forest zones between the Niger River and the Sahel, gold dust flowed like water through the hands of traders. They called it Wangara gold, and it made kingdoms rise. By the 9th century, the Ghana Empire had grown wealthy, taxing gold and salt along the trans-Saharan trade routes. But Ghana would fall, and out of its ashes, a new power would rise. In the 13th century, a prince was born in the small kingdom of Kangaba. He was crippled as a child, mocked as a weakling, but his name would become legend. Sundiata Keita, the Lion of Mali. After Ghana's collapse, a brutal warlord named Sumanguru Kante conquered the Mande peoples. Sundiata, exiled and underestimated, returned with an army of freed peoples and loyal allies. At the Battle of Karina in 1235, he crushed Sumanguru and united the Mande into a new empire. This wasn't just a political conquest. Sundiata founded a dynasty, the Keita dynasty, and established a constitution known as the Kurukan Fuga Charter, one of the earliest declarations of rights and governance in African history. Under Sundiata, Mali became more than a kingdom. It became a civilization. By the late 13th century, Mali stretched from the Atlantic coast deep into the heart of the Sahara. It controlled trade routes, copper mines, ivory forests, and above all, the gold fields of Bambouk and Bure. The empire ran on commerce. Caravans of camels crossed the desert to Timbuktu and Djenné, where traders brought books from Cairo, textiles from Fez, and glassware from Venice. Mali didn't just trade wealth, it generated it. Gold dust was used as currency. Taxes were paid in gold. Even the king, called the Mansa, had monopoly over all the gold nuggets, while only the smaller grains were allowed to circulate. But one ruler would take Mali's riches and fame to unimaginable heights. In 1312, Mansa Musa took the throne. He wasn't just a king, he was a world event. In 1324, Musa undertook the Hajj, the Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, with 60,000 men, 80 camels, and over 18 tons of gold. He gave away so much along the way that he crashed the gold market in Cairo. Prices didn't recover for a decade. But Musa wasn't just flaunting wealth. He brought back architects, scholars, and poets. He built mosques, libraries, and schools. Most famously, he elevated Timbuktu into a center of Islamic learning, home to the Sankoré University, which housed hundreds of thousands of manuscripts. Mali had become more than a trade empire. It was a beacon of scholarship, spirituality, and sophistication. By the 14th century, Timbuktu was legendary. Arab scholars spoke of its vast libraries and learned men. Travelers like Ibn Battuta wrote of its order, justice, and luxury. The Sankoré Mosque served not just as a religious center, but as a university rivaling Al-Azhar in Cairo or Córdoba in Spain. The city was a crossroads. Islamic scholars from Morocco, gold traders from Ghana, book dealers from Arabia, blacksmiths, poets, and griots, keepers of Mali's oral history. In a time when much of Europe was burning witches and warring over thrones, Timbuktu was debating philosophy, astronomy, and jurisprudence. But all golden ages fade. After Mansa Musa's death, his successors struggled to maintain control. Vassal kingdoms broke away. The Songhai, once allies, rose to challenge Mali's supremacy. By the 15th century, Mali's borders had shrunk. By the 16th, it was a shadow of its former self. Then came European explorers, who mapped the coastlines, captured the trade routes, and began centuries of colonization. They dismissed the Empire of Mali as myth, ignored the manuscripts, and buried the story of a black empire that had once ruled with gold and wisdom. But Mali was not erased. Its blood runs through West Africa, its stories are still sung by griots, its manuscripts are being recovered and digitized, proof that a rich intellectual heritage once thrived. In modern Mali, the Keita name still holds reverence. And across the African diaspora, the story of Mali has become a symbol of lost greatness and future potential. This was not a forgotten corner of the world. It was a global force, a silent dynasty. So the next time someone tells you Africa had no history, tell them about the empire that once broke economies with gold and enlightened minds with knowledge. If you want more stories like this, of African empires, kings, queens, and warriors the world forgot, subscribe to Silent Dynasties. When history speaks, we listen.